in my wisdom, I thought I'd come up and see these old ruins very early in the morning, so we got the nice morning light. But when I woke up, happened to wake up before 4 o'clock, so I come over, set off before 4, and at that time the cloud was quite broken. I wouldn't rule out it breaking through again, but it'll be a while before the sun strikes this area, which is at the very top of Rosedale. This patch here, it's quite confusing because some of the stuff, like there, can you see how that area slumps down? A very long time ago by the look of it. There should be a railway line right along there. And it was quite striking that the railway line passes extremely close to this row of houses, and you can still see where the sleepers were, which is you can't see anywhere else because there's not many people get up here. And another thing I found interesting, I don't know what that is, but there's quite a significant flow of water coming down from this wet area up here. You can hear quite water flowing like down a little waterfall there, and it just sort of goes into this pondy area. I don't think it was ever supposed to that originally, because it doesn't really come out of that, so it must be getting away somewhere else through just seeping through the ballast or whatever under the old railway track. So I have a bad feeling that this early morning excursion, although it's interesting, is not going to yield any particularly good photos or anything else, because I don't think the sun's really going to rise. So here you can see this is like the back of the house. There's a fireplace at the lower level, and then a much smaller fireplace upstairs, look. And it's the same in the front room. Would there have been 2 front rooms? One of these would have been like a kitchen, wouldn't it? With a range. This is what happens when you're not looking where you're walking. So there's been, I mean, this room at the back, this one doesn't have a fireplace or anything else much. That's maybe been more like a pantry, and this would have been a kitchen with some sort of small range, and the one in the front most likely was a bit of a parlour, a side of the smarter room where you might receive visitors. But these chimneys would have been running on coal from the railway, so can we even still see all of them? Yeah, only just though. Really quite poor quality brick, but not being nasty about the other terrace houses in Rosedale, because a lot of them are actually quite well, been very well modernised, but quite poor quality stone. But you can see why this has never been removed, because it's absolutely terrible stone. This is possibly a slightly better preserved. When I see the layout in here, I would suggest that this room at what I would have called the front might have had an oven or something in it. Well, that's the actual fireplace there with that lintel, and there's been something alongside it which is a bit unclear what that's for. Some sort of drying room, and again we've got evidence of a much smaller chimney and a little mini fireplace upstairs. So there'd have been 2 upstairs rooms there with fireplaces, and whereas this side again, there's even some plaster on the wall there, look. So yeah, there's some evidence of the roofing material. But the stone is really dreadful, because there isn't any great shortage of stone, but most of it is very small broken pieces. It seems to make little like flaky slabs. I mean, there's some there, for example, not quite sure if that's entirely representative, because it might be a bit of a tipped area. But anyway, that's an overview of these ruins at the top of, just near the kilns in Rosedale. So this area here, this last one, that's just fallen down. So this is why I particularly wanted to record these as far as possible, because again you have to be rather careful looking at your camera and climbing up on this rubble. But see, this would have been a full further house originally. Then it gets to that stage. That's just fallen down within the last few months, possibly last winter, I would have suspected. But they had a hell of a view up here, didn't they? And although you look across the valley and think there's a nice view, it's actually quite appealing looking along these curves. It's actually getting a bit lighter now, I told you. And there's another larger, the building further along seems larger altogether. It's almost more like it was a workshop or something. So, see, this second group, it looks to me like this has been more or less one much larger room, but there isn't like room to get an engine in. I think it has been more like a workshop, or even conceivably offices. There's no real sign of a chimney or bricks from a chimney. I'm not saying there wasn't somewhere to heat it. They may have just had a stove with a metal pipe up through the roof. But see, I think this has been like one quite substantial room here. Well, two in fact there. And this stuff in the middle is just bits of roofing and such. It's fallen back in. And somebody's replaced the wood there. I don't know whether they rebuilt that piece entirely. But again, this is a relatively large room. It's almost like village hall size, isn't it? So, let's go back a bit. Quite an interesting place, but not as interesting as the houses, really. Somebody's definitely rebuilt that relatively recently with some new timber in that wall. Because they have been doing quite a bit of, so we say, consolidation. But a lot of what they've done, it's just trivial, really. And it's already just fallen to bits as fast as they do it. For example, there's quite a lot of fencing along the top of it to stop the erosion along the top. But it's all about falling over again. So I didn't even realise you weren't supposed to walk along there because one end was completely missing. But, so I did walk quite near the edge initially.